The wolf's land was tamed. Dacia now belonged to Rome. Engineers carved order into the wild mountains.
Fortresses rose, symbols of discipline and dominance.
Every road led to Rome's control.
The legions ensured order, step by step.
With stone and water, civilization spread.
Monuments of empire grew where once stood forests. Homes of Roman settlers blossomed beside native huts.
Two worlds collided. One ruled, one adapted.
Decrees of Rome echoed in foreign tongues.
A new language began to take root.
Wealth and power carried Rome's image. Dacia's strength was bent into Rome's service.
Even the gods of Rome claimed new soil.
Leisure followed conquest, the luxury of empire.
But old gods faded under new stone. The land was Rome's harvest. Beneath the earth, Rome hungered for treasure. Dacia's veins of gold bled for Rome.
Wealth flowed endlessly into Rome's empire.
Order was kept under steel and stone.
Water, the lifeblood of empire, reached every city.
Rome's games arrived, spectacles of blood and glory.
But not all eyes admired Rome's entertainments.
Trade blended two worlds into one marketplace. Rome marked its presence in every stone.
The province thrived as a jewel of empire.
New generations grew under Rome's shadow.
Alliances were forged, yet fragile as glass.
The empire stood tall, but shadows gathered beyond the horizon.
For no empire lasts forever. And Dacia's story was far from over.
Here, in Dacia's veins, Rome found rivers of gold. The earth itself was torn open to feed the empire's hunger.
Gold flowed like fire, shaping Rome's fortunes.
Wealth that once belonged to Dacians now filled Roman coffers.
From gold came cities, and from cities came power.
Rome built stone where forests once stood.
Markets thrived, Latin and Dacian tongues woven together.
Even the baths carried the promise of Rome's comfort. Generations began to blend Roman blood with Dacian roots. Yet for some, the glory of Rome was the shadow of loss. The minds did not sleep. Men became machines of empire.
Every coin bore the mark of conquest.
With Dacian treasure, Rome fed its endless wars.
Luxuries of the empire glistened with Dacian wealth. But prosperity was not shared by all. The language of Rome carved itself into Dacia's soul.
Entertainment bought with blood and coin.
Gods of Rome now ruled the mountains once sacred to Zamolxis.
From day to night, Dacia beat to Rome's heart.
Gold came at the cost of flesh and bone.
Dacia's earth forged weapons for Rome's might.
Gold became both fortune and folly.
Culture blended with commerce.
Rome's authority was declared in stone and law.
Yet not all bent to Rome's will.
Some chose mountains over marble.
Civilization blossomed under Roman hands. But Dacia's roots began to fade in silence. Even art spoke with Rome's voice.
Dacian beauty was worn as Roman fashion.
Dacia's treasure fueled Rome's expansion across the world.
Yet beyond the cities, the wilds still whispered rebellion.
Beyond Rome's reach, the wild still breathed freedom.
Here, sons of Decebalus sharpened their father's steel.
Mothers stitched memory into cloth and flame.
Survival was their creed, the forest their fortress.
Ancient gods still spoke through stone and fire.
Even the young were raised as wolves of the mountains. Faith bound them tighter than Rome's chains could break.
They watched Rome's walls rise, but did not bow.
The wolf remained their sacred oath. In secret, they prepared for a war yet to come.
Freedom was not theirs to surrender.
Rome's hand reached far, but not here.
The wild rivers carried their defiance.
Songs of sorrow kept the memory of kings alive.
Even the youngest grew up with stories of their ancestors' struggle. Their network stretched across hills and valleys.
Like shadows, they struck when Rome least expected. Every victory was a message. We are not gone. The spirit of the wolf lived in them still.
Stories passed in whispers became unbroken chains.
Flames carried their unity across the night.
Beast and man ran as one in freedom. No coin could buy their loyalty.
They lived simple, yet proudly have, free from Rome's yoke.
Every day, they prepared for tomorrow's storm.
They never forgot the enemy beyond the walls.
They mourned, yet did not yield.
Decisions were carved in fire and stone. The wolf banner would rise again. They were outnumbered, but never broken. Even Rome's maps could not erase them. The free Dacians, last guardians of a fading flame.
Roman Dacia gleamed with marble and order.
For a century, law and empire ruled these mountains.
Its mines fed Rome's endless hunger for wealth.
Legions stood as guardians of the frontier.
Urban life flourished. Entertainment became empire's gift.
Yet, in the shadows, the free still remembered their freedom. But a darker tide was rising beyond Rome's horizon. Goths, Vandals, and Carpi gathered in restless swarms.
The frontier was no longer secure.
Dacia's outer lands burned first.
Even Rome's strongest walls could not halt the storm forever. Wolves return when the eagles sleep. Prophecies whispered of the eagle's fall. Fear seeped into daily life. The first blood marked the beginning of the end. Trade routes shattered under endless raids.
Gold no longer flowed as before. urban life began to decay.
The storm drew closer each winter. Rome's strength became defense, not dominance.
Dacia turned from Rome's jewel into Rome's burden.
By the 3rd century, Rome's own emperors knew the truth. The frontier was collapsing. Rome prepared to abandon Dacia. Emperor Aurelian made the unthinkable choice. The eagle's shadow left the mountains behind.
Rome's marble crumbled to silence.
The wolves returned to empty halls.
For them, Rome was only a passing shadow. Rome itself retreated, leaving Dacia behind.
The empire's jewel was gone. And so began the last chapter, the fall of Dacia. Rome had left, but the storm had only begun. The Goths came first, horsemen from the north. Fierce, untamed, hungry for conquest. The land itself seemed swallowed by their fury. No Roman garrison remained strong enough.
The Carpi too struck, wolves turning against the eagle.
Wave after wave, the land was overrun. Leaders rose, not as kings, but as predators. Old bloodlines found new allies in chaos. Night after night, the frontier burned. Fortresses collapsed under relentless fury.
Innocence, too, was caught in the storm.
The Vandals swept in with winter's cruelty. Dacia became a land of ashes.
Gold lost its meaning. Only survival remained. These were not raids alone, but migrations of whole peoples.
Even Rome's historians feared to write of it.
Blood soaked the border.
For the wolves. The land filled with strangers' fires. Survivors fled south, leaving Dacia behind.
The wolves now ruled unchallenged.
A new generation knew no empire.
Dacia fractured into tribal realms.
In Rome, Dacia was spoken of only as a memory. For some, the spirits of their ancestors had returned.
Oaths were sworn. Wars promised.
Darkness gathered for centuries to come.
And so began the Age of Invasions.
Dacia was no longer one land, but many fractured thrones. The Goths carved kingdoms with steel and blood.
The Vandals thrived on plunder, tearing Rome's roads apart.
The wolves returned, reclaiming forgotten altars. Borders shifted with every season. The Goths claimed kingship, though fragile.
The Vandals defied Rome's shadow.
Alliances were forged in whispers.
Old gods demanded loyalty through blood.
Unity was fleeting, betrayal constant.
Even Rome bent to their terms.
The Vandals sought the rivers as new roads.
The Goths expanded, unstoppable.
A generation grew, knowing only ruin.
Power was redrawn by every council.
Yet a greater terror was coming. Whispers of a new enemy spread.
They spoke of riders who devoured Earth itself.
The Huns.
A storm unlike any before. Even the Goths trembled. The Vandals fled the horizon's roar. Ancient prayers could not stop the storm.
History remembered them as death itself.
The Hun thudder shook the world. Wolves met the storm!
No tribe was spared.
A new master rose over Dacia.
The Huns consumed all. The tribes scattered in fear. Dacia's soul trembled. The world had entered the age of the Huns.
Rome had bled too long on the Carpathian frontier.
Emperor Aurelian made a choice. Abandon Dacia. The eagles crossed the river for the last time. Families left behind the only homes they had ever known. Stone walls crumbled into silence. The tribes rushed to claim the ruins.
Rome itself declared the province lost.
The eagle fell and never returned.
The land was left to wolves, ruins, and memory.
But the soul of Dacia refused to die.
In Roman scrolls, the name was erased.
Yet ruins still whispered the story.
The capital of the Dacians lay in ashes once more.
Rome retreated. The frontier was gone. But the wolf remained. An empire ended, but a legend was born. The spirit of the wolf endured. Stone upon stone, a new people arose. Descendants carried both Roman blood and Dacian soul.
Through centuries, lands divided, yet bound by memory.
Even in exile, the name Roman endured. Faith became the fortress of identity.
Warriors rose again to defend the Carpathians.
A spirit unbroken damned, from Dacia to Romania.
Centuries later, the dream of unity returned.
The ancient land became a modern nation. Romania, the child of Rome and Dacia.
From empire's ashes, a people stood eternal.
The story lives in every generation.
The past breathed in tradition and pride.
Dacia never died. Rome never vanished. Together, they became Romania.
Empires fall. Legends remain.